We always go down a really dark path in these episodes.
So it's all just sex and eating Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all the Fae is.
The other big aspect, obviously, is, he talks about going on the hunt for the Chandrian, and most of it is just nonsense stories. Like, there were several books of children's stories that feature Chandrian engaged in minor mischief, like stealing pies and making milk go sour. Others had them bargaining like demons in Ator and morality plays. We get the Chandrian were cursed. Signs showed their presence: blue flame, rotten rust, they chill in the air. That's accurate. And I do think it is a curse. I don't, we always joke and say they're superpowers, but I do think they're curses that show their signs. And one of the few things I knew about the Chandrian was that they worked viciously to repress any knowledge of their own existence. They killed my troop because my father had been writing a song about them. In Draben, they destroyed an entire wedding party because some of the guests had seen pictures of them on a piece of ancient pottery. But one of the big ones is he finds a children's book that he says instead they were, of course, the Chandrian were the only entry without a picture. Instead, there was just an empty page framed in a decorative scroll work. The decorative scroll work is, I think, what is the clue. He is like, you'd be surprised what you find hidden within children's poems. He says something along those lines. Might not be that word for word, but he says that early on to Chronicler. And the decorative scroll work, I think, is important because he describes the lackless boxes feeling like scroll work. He says the Duke of Gibeah had like scroll work around the edges, and we know the Duke of Gibeah, had like the saying of the Emir. So I think this decorative scroll work, if he could read Yllish, I think he would be learning that there are secrets that are hidden in these books. That decorative scroll work, I don't think is decorative. I think that is the hidden secret that he's missing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that. We get. Well, that almost makes me think, because in the next couple chapters we get Denna talking about written magic.
Yeah,
and I know this could be different, but it kind of plays with that.
Yeah, I think it's Yllish, and I think there's something magical. There's a magic. I'm sure it's similar, like with naming. There's obviously, you can just say names and there's no magic behind it, but then there's also naming. Whereas I think, there's Yllish knots, but then there's magical Yllish knots as well. I think there's probably a distinction between the two.
And with Rothfuss's foreshadowing, the previous chapter talked about it as well. Or 2 chapters ago when they're talking about interesting facts. And I believe it's Fella brings up the Yllish knots. Yeah. The unwritten, or the unwritten language, or something to that effect.
Also on that poem, I think a lot of people cling to the idea, and not a lot, but there are some people that cling to the idea that the Chandrian are actually good people. They didn't actually kill Kavoth's parents or kill the Mothman farm, that they're actually the good guys. And I think this poem, is something that they point to, because it says the Chandrian move from place to place, but they never leave a trace. They hold their secrets very tight, but they never scratch and they never bite. They never fight and they never fuss. In fact, they're quite nice to us. They come and they go in the blink of an eye, like a bright bolt of lightning out of the sky. I think that, they are quite nice to us, is what lends a lot of people to believe that the Chandrian might be good guys. I don't think that's the case, but I think that's one piece of evidence that they point to, in the fact that he says there's secrets hidden in children's rhyme. I think the secret is the scroll work, not the actual poem. I think the poem is largely nonsense.
Yeah, I think their marketing arm is pretty weak. This is the best they could come up with, the Chandrian, to spread, like, let's get some word out there that we're not that bad. We're actually nice. Let's get some people off our scent, and they write this ridiculous, stupid poem.
So I hear you, and I'm telling you, that poem, man, that poem is hot. It's hot fire. You're spitting hot fire. That shit thumps. It thumps so fucking hard. But
in fact, they are quite nice to us.
But I also, I went to I saw what happened, at a wedding where there was like 80 people who were like, cut in pieces and sliced in two. I think that was wrong. I'm just gonna say it. I think what you guys did there was wrong, and that lends me to believe that you guys do bite and you do fight.
Well, and I think it's also pretty telling that Cinder tortures a child emotionally just for shits and giggles. Yeah, that tells me they're not nice. They're not nice to us.
We didn't do that. We just showed up and, we just had some fun.
Yeah, we showed up. We showed up at the end. Yeah, we showed up after, and then we were like, well, let's really try to make it seem like we did it. So I'm going to make this kid feel really bad.
But actually, we were there. We saved Kavoth. Whoever killed his family would have killed him. And then we saved Dinah at the Motham farm. We showed up and fucking saved her. And we're just completely misinterpreted. Everybody gets us wrong. You know why I think everybody gets you wrong, Cinder?
Also,
you know why? It's because you're like, where's your parents? Oh, someone killed your parents. Oh, poor you. Boo-hoo. And then Haliak's like, yeah, you know what? Just go ahead and fucking kill that kid, man. Like, stop being mean to him and just kill him. It's like, well, you guys seem pretty fucking gangster, man. Like, stop being such a dick, and maybe we'll believe your bullshit that you didn't do it.
Yeah, and also to add to that, to make that a little more concrete, when Haliax comes up and chastises Cinder, he chastises more than just Cinder. He's like, a lot of you guys, or some
guys
of
enjoy your cruelties
forget
too
our
much.
Purpose. Yeah, cruelties and forget our purpose. He's not talking about just Cinder. He's talking about a few of them and being cruel.
And like the implication when he's like, this one has done nothing wrong, like the other ones had done something wrong. Like, come on, no, there's no way. Like, here's how much Rothfuss is not into twists, like just massive out of nowhere twists. When he has his parents killed, he's like, I hope they, enjoyed their last moments together. I hope they spent them in each other's arm. But doesn't matter because they're dead. He's like, there's no fucking, I go out in the woods and I came back and there's a massive twist. Holy shit, shocker. My parents are dead. No, he's like, some bad shit's about to happen. I'm going to tell you some bad shit. And then he's like, and I hope they, they spent their last moments together, loving each other, but they're dead. Like, he didn't give you a twist. He just fucking matter-of-factly just laid it out there. Like, if he's going to give a fucking twist, that's a prime opportunity to give a twist. He doesn't fucking do it. Like, I can't think of anything where it's like there's just this jaw-dropping twist moment. That's not how he tells his stories.
No, the way he kind of drops him is like, well, pretty soon here, Denna's with Ambrose, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But, that's not it's a twist in the sense of, shit, man. His girl and his enemy together, you're like, it's totally plausible. Yeah. Totally happened. He's a rich dude in town. Who's she looking for? Rich dudes in town.
But, right? And he didn't string it along. He just dropped that on her fucking plate.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, he's not a guy that, strings what shit makes along it a twist. And then just fucking out of left field, you get fucking whipsawed in another direction. Like, all the shit seems to build off of previous things. And so, like, to make the Chandrian good guys would just be so out of left field after the whole book. The whole first two books have been about hunting them down for killing his parents.
I will say this, though. You can't say that he's not going to write in a twist because he hasn't wrote in a twist, that it doesn't match his style. That's the whole point of a twist.
Okay. but he's not going to write in a twist that would completely make the first couple books shit.
What he usually
Or
does
a large
is
portion of it.
he adds a new layer that builds off of previous layers. Maybe takes you in a slightly different direction than you expected, but it doesn't it's not a complete 180.
And there's and I don't know what that might be, but there's a lot of different avenues he could twist because there's so much. Well, is it this or
he could definitely make the Haliax or the Chandrian more sympathetic. He could go that route, and that wouldn't throw me off. But be like, Cinder was actually he's one of the good guys. That's a massive out of nowhere, completely contrary to everything we've seen twist.
Yeah, you can't do that after the cruelty. And yeah, there's plenty more that can come from the mayor and from Braden and from Ari and from, I always forget the guy that was killing the mayor.
Oh, Caudicus.
Slowly poisoning him. Yeah, there's plenty that can still come from those characters, and there can be twists where these people are put in a more sympathetic light, but not Cinder. Maybe Haliax, but not Cinder.
No.
Maybe Haliax. Not Cinder, but Haliax doesn't show cruelty.
No, yeah, he seems to separate himself from them. So that's why I say, you could build some sympathy for their plight. You could make them more sympathetic where it's more understandable what they're doing. I think that will be the case. But I do not think he will go the route that, nope, turns out the Amir are the bad guys and the Chandrian are the good guys. And both had it 180 degrees in the wrong direction. That would be super whack.
That would be really whack to have Scarpy be a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of those characters. But yeah, that would be, again, when it takes the book in a direction. I'm not necessarily trying to say in a direction I don't want it to go, because it shouldn't go in a direction I expect anyway. But if it went in that direction, so much that already has been written needs to be twisted in such a way for it to not be garbage.
It's got to make sense. And a lot of these theories, it doesn't make any sense based on what he's written. So with only one book left, it'd be very difficult to completely spin all these characters in the opposite direction and for it to make sense. I don't know how he would do it. And so maybe he could.
You're right in thinking that it would be it would make the rest garbage because it would negate everything that he's done so far in portraying these people as good people. And those people is bad.
When you consider that responsibility that he now has as an author to not ruin what he's already done, man, that's a pretty
part
heavy weight.
of what I like about the second book so much is it builds so well off of the first book. It's not a book that goes in a totally different direction than I would have ever thought. It doesn't do that. I don't ever feel that where I'm just like, holy shit, I can't believe he did this. I don't have those feelings, but it's amazing because of how well it builds off of what he already wrote. How many clues and layers that he started in book one that I didn't understand when I went through book one. But, it makes sense once you get to book two, like the Natalia Lackless parts where you get these little hints and then the second book builds off those hints and then kind of closes that loop. And if he's closing loops, that I will like. If he's just it completely changes it into something completely different, that's I won't find that interesting. It just it'll be unexpected, but I think it'll take away from the first two books.
One thing that sort of surprised me about book two that I think a lot of people, or I've heard a lot of people say that they sort of didn't like about it, is that it spends a lot of time not at the university because they like the university so much. So it's a bit surprising, but it's not a drawback as far as I'm concerned. It's tremendous. It draws the world out a lot bigger. It makes him grow as an individual, makes him apply a lot of the things he's already learned and learn more about what he wasn't learning that he now can learn now that he's removed. I think it's tremendous. Yeah, it's one of the best examples of books I've read that build on what has been built before, or what has been laid out before from the previous book. These chapters that we've been reading, they're great because a lot of them also are. I've said that many times that this second book can stand on its own, and what we're about to get with Denna learning sympathy, it teaches us again. We've learned it in book 1. But in case we forgot or we never read book 1, book 2, you get to learn sympathy by, within the first 200 pages.
Yeah.
So it gets that second layer to it, and it's a reminder, and it's also clarification in a further direction as well.
Yeah, like, I mean, if he wants to, finish up the book and it's strong, it's got to be like, bring in, make the Mario Brothers and the Tonto and the Jack in the Box and, the Twilight and the Matrix and bring in all these elements that he's already laid out and just finish that story, that's clearly laid out. Finish that. And it's going to be fucking fire.
We've put the groundwork. We've done all the legwork. We've put the foundation in for him. He really has no more excuses as to why he hasn't come out with the new book.
Yeah.
We put it all out.
We should give him advanced copies of our episodes.
Just write it down.
Help him flesh out his own ideas.
Help him move
Good idea, Dan. Good idea.